this is just a normal Windows laptop. Seems like it would be. It's actually a hybrid. When you take the display off like this, it becomes an Android tablet. Pretty cool, right? When I first saw the Lenovo ThinkBook Plus Gen 5 Hybrid, yes, that's its entire name, I thought it was pretty cool too. But then I got to thinking, is this really better than having a dedicated laptop and a dedicated tablet? Does mixing Android and Windows make sense for your day-to-day life? Well, let's talk about it. This is a pretty unique product, so I want to go over the fundamentals of it just because it's something that you probably haven't seen before. So there are two different systems here. The hybrid station, which is the keyboard, that's where Windows lives, and then the hybrid tab, which is the display where Android lives. These are two totally separate systems with their own hardware. Aside from the cameras and the display, each system has everything it needs to run independently of the other. In other words, that means a processor inside the hybrid station and then a different processor inside the hybrid tab. On the Windows side, you can see we have an Intel Core processor, plenty of RAM, and everything that you would need for a terrific productivity laptop, just only in the keyboard. And then on the Android side, you can see we have a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor that's a few years old, plenty of RAM, and once again, everything you need for a terrific Android tablet experience. As far as ports go, unfortunately, we don't have many to work with only two USB-C ports on the hybrid station. And then on the hybrid tab, we have one USB-C port that is hidden under the hinge. This one USB-C port, though, is nice because it does allow you to charge the Android tablet independently of the Windows machine. Keep in mind that when you have the two systems separated, you can hook up the keyboard to an external monitor, which would allow you to run Windows on its own and the Android tablet on its own without having either of them interact with each other. This basically allows you to always have an Android tablet and always have a Windows PC everywhere you go in one laptop. I got to admit that there's a lot to love about this machine. First, I want to talk about the hardware construction. This thing is a tank. It's a bit heavy, but it is super solidly constructed. I feel like I could toss this thing off of a table and it would survive no problem. I'm not going to do that, but I feel like it would survive if I did. I already told you about the specs and how great those are, but I do want to hone in on the 2.8K OLED display. This thing is a joy to use, whether you're using the Android system or Windows. Either way, you get HDR support, you get beautiful colors, crisp blacks, and everything you could possibly want from a high-end display like this. I do wish that it had a higher refresh rate. It's only at 60 Hz, and I also wish that the bezels were a bit slimmer, but the reality is that this is an amazing display no matter what you're doing with it. I also love how easy it is to swap between the two operating systems when these systems are connected together. All you need to do is tap this button on the keyboard and you can jump to Windows or jump to Android. Remember that when you hit this button, you're not emulating either system. You're actually using that system's core processor. So you can actually max out what you're doing with Windows and then max out what you're doing with Android at the same exact time and not see a performance hit with either one. This is going to be a huge game changer for people out there who are big multitaskers. Lenovo's also put in some unique software utilities like the hybrid folder, which allows you to share files between the Android operating system and the Windows operating system just by dragging and dropping those files into the hybrid folder. If you decide you want to take some pictures with the hybrid tab, those pictures are automatically going to go to the Windows Pictures folder. All you need to do is attach the tablet back to the system and boom, all those pictures you've just taken are automatically copied to the Windows machine. I was also surprisingly happy with the battery life of this system. Inside the tablet, you have a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, and then inside the hybrid station, you have a 75 watt hour battery. Both of these battery capacities are pretty standard for an Android tablet or for a Windows laptop, but remember, you have both of them. That means you could be using the Android tablet, run that down to 0, connect it to the hybrid station, and then keep on trucking with your Windows system. This basically gives you twice as much battery power as you would normally have if you only had a tablet or only had a laptop. There are some problems that can come up from having two separate systems with two separate batteries. So let's say you run down your Android tablet to close to 0 and you want to charge it up. So you attach it to the hybrid station. However, there's no way to tell the system to use the charger to only charge the tablet. You have to charge both systems simultaneously. This could cause issues if you want to get that Android tablet charged as quickly as possible. The only way for you to do this is to plug directly into the tablet's USB-C port. But of course, that means you can't use the Windows machine unless you connect it to an external monitor. Another thing that I wasn't super fond of here is the weight. I mentioned that this thing feels like a tank, which is great if you're going to be dropping it off of tables, but if you're putting it into your backpack, it's going to weigh you down significantly. Granted, if you had a tablet and a laptop, it probably would weigh about the same as this thing does, but it still feels a lot heavier than pretty much any tablet I've used in the past 10 years. Although Lenovo has offered some software features that do a great job of allowing the two systems to work well together, there's a lot of room for improvement here. For example, there's no continuity between the two machines. If I'm drafting an email in the Windows environment, I can't then continue that email in the Android environment. In fact, even the hardware separation makes a lot of problems. For example, when I want to connect to my Wi-Fi, I have to connect on the Windows machine and then reconnect again on the Android machine. This is something that I feel like could be shared between the two systems, but Lenovo just didn't do it. That's not the only continuity issue here. You also have the problem of the tablet and the station immediately putting you into Windows when you connect the two together. So if you're working on Android and then you decide you want a keyboard and you snap your Android tablet back onto the station, unfortunately you're going to go to Windows and then you're going to have to manually go back to Android. I'm not sure why Lenovo chose to do this. You think it would let you choose which operating system you want to connect to once you've connected the two systems together, but that's not possible. Another issue is that if you have the complete system connected to an external monitor and using Windows, and then you decide you want to use the Android tablet, disconnecting the display automatically locks Windows. This could cause problems. For example, let's say you're in the middle of a Zoom call and you decide that you want to jot down a note on the Android tablet and you disconnect the tablet from the system. Well, now you're locked, so now your Zoom call is over. Finally, I don't really understand why Lenovo thought it would be a good idea to put two cameras on the back of this thing. On any laptop you buy, you're not going to have cameras on the back, let alone two. And then even most tablets, you're not going to be taking them out to go and take photos of your kids or your cat or whatever. So why did it do that? To me, this just increases the weight and increases the cost of this machine. So I really wish Lenovo didn't do this and just made it more like a laptop with a tablet attached. We don't need those extra cameras. Okay, so big question here. Should you buy the Lenovo ThinkBook Plus Gen 5 Hybrid? If you decide you wanted to buy this, you obviously get the tablet and then you get the hybrid station, and you also get a cool little easel and a stylus for using on both the different systems. That whole kit will cost you $3,500. That's the list price. Granted, Lenovo is going to put this on sale quite often, and it might even be on sale right now. But the standard price that you will pay for this is $3,500. So let's put that into perspective. If you were to buy a really great productivity Windows laptop, you'd probably spend about $1,500 maybe. And if you were going to buy a really great Android tablet, you'd probably spend about $1,000. That means the list price for these two systems combined is $1,000 extra than you would pay if you bought the systems individually. I don't know about you, but the convenience of having two systems that are together instead of separate isn't really worth an extra $1,000. The price also seems pretty ridiculous when you remember that a lot of the features that are built into the Lenovo system can be replicated with Windows and Android separate. For example, you can use Quick Share to easily share files between Android and Windows. It happens nearly instantaneously as long as you're connected to good Wi-Fi. Duet software also allows you to share your trackpad and keyboard on your Windows laptop with your Android tablet, basically making it so that you can connect the two together without actually physically connecting them. There's also the question of updates. Lenovo and its subsidiary Motorola do not have a great history of delivering timely Android updates for an extended period of time. This thing comes out of the box with Android 13, and there has been an Android 14 upgrade. But is it going to get Android 15? Is it going to get Android 16? We don't know, and frankly, based on Lenovo and Motorola's history, I would say probably not. Ultimately, I think Lenovo has a really good idea here. The problem is that the price is going to scare a lot of people away. This is going to create an issue where Lenovo is going to think, hey, we made an Android tablet that mixes with a Windows laptop and nobody bought it. But the reason nobody bought it is because it's too expensive. So I really hope that Lenovo doesn't think that this idea is bad just because people aren't going to buy this specific machine. If this machine were cheaper and maybe had a bit more software integration between the two systems, I think it would be a real hit. Even if I only use the Android tablet side once every couple of months or so, it would still be worth it to have. Anyway, I want to know what you think. Are you interested in Lenovo ThinkBook Plus Gen 5 Hybrid? Are you interested in anything like this, whether it comes from Lenovo or Samsung or anybody? Let me know in the comments, and in the meantime, I will see you in the next video.